Donald Trump Jr. talking about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live for Donald Trump's address at the border, Arizona-Mexico border. I believe it's Cochise. I put it in the description, Cochise County, Arizona. Okay. And I was going to go, at first I thought he was going to go live, or he was going to start speaking at 1:30 Central Time, but then he's going live at 2 o'clock. But I guess this was kind of interesting to me. This guy that's speaking on RSBN right now, I guess he must be a new, one of their new anchors or whatever. And guys, okay, I don't like making fun of people, but the guy is kind of bombing right now, so I had to go. I had to go early a little bit. I had to go live a little bit early.
About here.
So I mean, I'm not trying to bust on him, but it's kind of fun to watch while we wait for Donald Trump. We can watch him.
Always a good time.
So. Yes.
One thing I remarked
on
earlier,
and I also have on the other one I have Real America's Voice. We have Brian Glenn right here. He's always good. He used to be on RSBN, but
Kamala Harris has been.
Let's listen in for a little bit, guys. I'm just kind of hanging out. Donald Trump should be speaking here in probably about half an hour or so.
Something I don't think we're talking enough about, and just how radical Tim is, if not more so than Kamala.
This guy seems like a nice guy, but he just doesn't
practice race-based discrimination.
Must be his first time.
And rationing COVID treatments in 2021. White Americans were given a lower priority for treatment purely based on skin color, according to Walz's policies. So, again, bringing in racial discrimination, reverse discrimination, however you want to call it, everyone should be given, equal rights, especially when it comes to, getting vaccinations.
I'll put Brian on in a second. I just want you guys to see what I'm talking about. It's kind of funny.
License to illegal immigrants in his state. When the mayor of Minneapolis begged Tim Walz to call out the National Guard to contain the George Floyd riots, Walz refused to do anything for 20 hours. That delay allowed BLM radicals to burn down the 3rd Precinct police station. So assaulting police officers being begged to bring out some protection to have the back of our law enforcement officers, and Tim Walz failed. Tim Walz literally doubled Minnesota's murder rate in just 3 years.
Okay, I guess he's not doing as bad as I thought he was. So before I went live, I put this on. I was watching it, and he literally was just he bombed so hard he had to send it back to the studio for a little bit, and it was pretty good. But let me switch over to Brian Glenn. Brian Glenn is always great. So let me mute that really quick and unmute this one.
A little bit of a haul to get down here and actually show the crisis.
We'll change the scene back and forth from the chat, see what you guys are up to.
Number 1 in encounters, number 2 in apprehensions. So that remains a problem here for the Harris administration. And of course, President Trump has the agenda to change all of that on day 1 and says he will.
Brian, how far are you from the town of Sierra Vista?
Actually, I do have one other thing I want to show you guys before we actually get to the border stuff. Kind of wanted to give you guys a look at what's going on. This is Donald Trump touching down. His plane touched down in Arizona right here. Just kind of give you guys a view of everything that's going on here. Trump walking away from Trump Force One in Arizona. The man, the myth, the legend. Hey, did you guys like my thumbnail that I made of Donald Trump with the cowboy hat on, with the cowboy outfit on? Hey, that was me. I make all of my own thumbnails, and I'm very proud of them. Okay, well, some of them I make quickly, but that one I spent a little time on. So we got a group of supporters waiting for Donald Trump here. Very brave move. Donald Trump walking off of his jet in plain view. There's buildings everywhere. Hey, you see, there's a sniper up there. This building up here, you see that? There's a sniper. So they got Secret Service probably crawling all over this place. I would like to know how many Secret Service they have. There's probably a lot. So very interesting scene there. And also, I should have probably played this one first, so I was in order. This is Trump's jet actually touching down on the runway in Arizona. Wow. I've been to Arizona a handful of times. I distinctly remember when I was younger, I was in Arizona with family. And my family and I stayed at this resort. I believe it was called Orange Tree Resort. It was very interesting. It was on a golf course, and there's orange trees everywhere. But I went golfing with some of my uncles and my dad. And it was like 111 degrees out there. And I remember being able to go for like, I think half the court, like 9 holes maybe. I think I was like 13. And after that, I just gave up. It was so hot. I wasn't used to that heat. So yes, it's a very hot place if you guys haven't been to Arizona. But let's get back to the border stuff. Let's get back to Brian Glenn, see what he is saying over there. Jack Posobiec on the left, Brian Glenn on the right. And we'll pop back and forth maybe between RSBN and Real America's Voice here. But let's unmute this and get into it, guys. This will be a fun one. I'm very excited for Trump
to
be speaking on the border here.
Had to be taken care of. Brian, real quick, by the way, a lot of those border towns that you're at, when you talk to Border Patrol, they'll even say that where you are isn't even considered the real
Patrick
border,
H., one of my great members. Really appreciate my members. Thanks, guys. He's at Border today, rally tomorrow. This man doesn't stop. Yeah, he's really every single day of the DNC, Trump has held something, I believe. He's held a rally, some sort of event, and this is just another one.
This is no crisis.
So,
and I don't think it's that.
Yeah, he's that the Energizer Bunny.
Not going to go away overnight. You can get them on RICO charges for stuff they have here in the States, the houses, the drug houses.
We got some of my other great members in the chat. We got D in the chat. Hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting D. We got Jeremy Byers, my man. How's it going, man? We got, of course, Michelle C in the chat.
Well, thanks so much for
that's right, Michelle. Tijuana border jumper.
And then we'll cut to you when
hey, don't you wish Trump would come to the Tijuana border? Right? That'd be cool, right? He's in Arizona, though. Tijuana border jumper. I forget one of the two. I believe he lives in Mexico and he works in the United States. Something like that. I forget exactly. Yeah, Patrick H. Go through some of my members here.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters?
All right. So now we're at a commercial. I'll flip it over here. Let's see what's going on with this guy.
And thank you, Bruce. Thank you so much. Appreciate.
I don't like to bust on this guy too much because it is hard to just talk. Sometimes you just aren't feeling it. Trust me, I do it. I'm fairly new to YouTube,
Thank you.
So sometimes I get on stream.
Please vote.
Because to be successful, I mean, you got to do this a lot. You got to pump out that content. Because you don't pump out the content, the algorithm stops suggesting you. So sometimes you just get on there and just like, man, I'm just not feeling it this day.
Can bring back.
So I don't want to bust on this guy too bad, but he is kind of bombing. It's pretty crazy.
4 years. VH is excited about the RFK Trump announcement. We certainly are too. We don't know what's going to happen.
So yeah, it looks like he's right there.
That is what we're seeing.
The border wall.
I think it would be extremely exciting.
And it looks like there are sections, unused sections of border wall here as well, sitting right there.
Policies and his thoughts.
So it's going to be a very interesting scene. I was thinking earlier, I really hope they secure the area because Mexico, they've got the cartels there. You got mountains and
so really cool. Stay safe.
I don't know, guys. I'm just uncomfortable about this.
Appreciate that.
What do you guys think about this?
Pepe for Trump, Awaken America. Thank you.
It's a beautiful scene, though. It really is.
Let's see. What else are you guys saying? William Jones. Hey, Mike. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
We got a super chat from Aaron Worley, one of my fantastic. My members are just the best. You guys are great.
God bless
Trump 2Q24. Did you mean 2024? Yes. $10 super chat. Thank you, Aaron.
Once again here.
Christy says, "Wow, good view from the cherry picker." Yeah.
President Trump. Now, is it just a media presence there, or are there anybody else watching? What's it like out there?
So we got homie. We got a homie in the studio.
Hey, Matthew, thanks for that.
That's trying to help out a little bit.
Like I said earlier, the media presence is really massive. It's not what we see at the rallies. We've probably got 10 times the media. The riser is absolutely packed here with media from local, national coverage. There are some It's slated that we saw there are supposed to be some local folks here that are going to tour the border with President Trump when he does arrive. He's going to go on a short tour of the border. So there is local law enforcement here. There are some locals.
Let's go back over to Real America's Voice and see what they're up to over here.
That's 100% Americana. Blackout Coffee is 100% committed.
Still doing some
some
ads over there.
Customer support and shipping.
But yeah, there was something that was pretty interesting that I noticed. I found on Twitter.
Taste or quality. By the way, so
this was on MSNBC. Actually, I'm gonna
the DNC.
I'm gonna pause this here or mute this while we wait, because Trump is not supposed to speak for another. Let's see, another like 23 minutes. But I want you guys to look at this. So they had this lady. I believe this lady is like a campaign spokesperson or something. But now they're trying to do this whole push at the DNC where they're calling Kamala Harris tough on the border, right? They had that Texas sheriff that was propped up on the DNC stage where he said that she was tough as nails on the border. They had that senator who said that she's been tough on the border for 20 years. So at first it seemed like they were going to try to say that Kamala Harris was never the border czar, never had a problem, or never was involved in the border. But now it's almost like they're segueing away from that, and they're trying to brainwash everybody into thinking that Kamala Harris is actually tough on the border, and she's always been tough on the border, which is insane, of course. They had this commentator or this campaign spokesperson on MSNBC essentially saying that Kamala Harris was the one in charge of the border, and she did a fantastic job. Listen.
And in that time has literally been doing the work. Border crossings are down because Mexico is enforcing their border. Do you know how Mexico enforces their border? Diplomacy. Do you know who is in charge of the root causes of migration and working on that diplomatic effort? The woman who will be standing on this stage tonight. There is just, you don't. And
so she just admitted that Kamala Harris is the border czar. And let me flip back to this really quick. I want to show you something. The faces of the hosts on MSNBC. Look at them. Look at their faces. They're like, you weren't supposed. That wasn't in the script. You weren't supposed to say that, whoever this is. That was not in the script. So she must have misspoke right there. But yeah, let's go back to Real America's Voice. See what's popping over here.
How Tim Walz played actually a huge role in the George Floyd case.
Yeah, his role cannot be understated in all of this. In fact, I put out my book.
So they're not really talking about it right now. Let's go back over to RSBN. Here we go.
Obviously, you're right there, so it'd be great to get a question in.
So the other guy must have not been able to hold it down with all of the talking, coming up with a random subject. I couldn't imagine doing that, guys. Like at least me talking on this live stream, I can pull up Twitter, I can pull up different videos, articles, and whatnot. But if you don't have the gift of gab, going out there and just talking on TV and trying to come up with random topics or stay on topic, talk about Trump, but talk about different facets of his campaign and Kamala Harris and expound on those topics, expound on ideas. That's really hard to do. It really is. And it takes practice. Some people just have it inherently. Some people just inherently have it. But for most people, that's hard to do.
And giving his comments live while Kamala.
Got some other members in the chat. Patriot Roy. Hey, thank you, Patriot Roy. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate my members here.
A presidential nomination. You talk about just a crazy world. But yeah, President Trump has been making the tour. He's out here.
For those of us just joining us, Donald Trump should be taking
critical sites like
the stage or the podium. Here in about 19 minutes, he's set to speak at 3 o'clock Eastern time, so that's 2 o'clock my time. I'm in Central time.
People talk all the time about.
We got Electric Dog throwing in those cacti. The cacti, the cactuses.
He's a businessman. He was brought up buy cheap, sell high. He is a businessman. He is not a politician. He has not been groomed, for 50 years in office. He's a guy, he has his pulse on America and what the American people are feeling. And he's getting out there. He's hitting the trail. He's hitting it hard. I think we're obviously going to see, things.
See who else we got in the chat.
Rallies and seeing President Trump talking about the issues that are facing every day.
We got D. Some of my
as
other
we
great
get closer
members,
to
D.
Election Day, I believe we are 74. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're 74 days away from election
And
day.
tonight,
so things really set to ramp up and heat up.
I saw that Donald Trump posted he will be live truthing Kamala Harris's address to the DNC.
That I saw this morning.
So that should be
he was
very exciting. I won't be able to cover Kamala's DNC address.
Harris came in, but I think
I thought about it
honeymoon phase really
because Trump was going to be doing that, but
has really closed that gap. And
I've seen a couple of her rallies, and I really,
so good news,
guys. It's a tough one. This DNC.
There. And we were talking about
I've watched every night so far, and I still have
starting at 10
tonight to watch.
While Harris is up on stage,
tonight's the last night.
Most likely 100%
so it's going to be bad enough
President Trump
just watching it versus streaming it and trying to talk about it. I can't do it, guys. I'm sorry.
It's going to be must watch.
I'm battle torn. Okay, from watching the DNC for 3 days, I'm battle torn.
Left is hating on Trump.
I had the 1,000-yard stare. I've been to hell and back. Okay,
don't like that. But you know
I would rather just listen to it passively,
strong leader, and
or watch it passively.
Through strength when it comes to our
and have to pay attention very carefully.
Leaders that are out there. Mike, we're going to get back to you in just a second. Do want to talk to you about the Wellness Company, one of our great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All you have to do is go to MakeCareGreatAgain.com. You can get a 15% off of these kits. I have one of them right here. The Wellness Company sent us some of the kits. It says the Contagion Emergency Kit. So anything from ivermectin, a Z-Pak, amoxicillin, all sorts of good prescriptions there. You go through a medical form. Once that gets approved and everything gets taken care of, they'll send this to you at your house. There's also
we got the Kim Gates joining us. Hey, thanks, Kim. Thanks for joining us.
Emergency kit. So 2 great products offered by the Wellness Company. We know always good to have something like that, whether it's in your car or at your workplace. MakeCareGreatAgain.com. Use that promo code RSBN. So let's go back out live to Mike right now in southern Arizona. One of our correspondents, Mike, RSBN correspondent Nikki Stanzione actually sent me this report. I want to read this to you. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday revived part of an Arizona voter law requiring documented proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote in response to a request from the Republican National Committee and Arizona Republicans. You know, it's interesting to see that the states are saying, you know what, I already want this 20 GOP platform promises to start being enacted right now because this is such a problem down there on the southern border.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where, again, it just comes back to common sense, Matthew. It's to think that we have been even considering the fact that illegal immigrants would be able to vote in our country's election. There was so much talk about interference with Russia and things like that, the Russia hoax with President Trump. And now we have the Democrats trying to pull the wool over Americans' eyes by importing voters. We've never seen this. This is truly third world country tactics, trying to overtake an election by importing illegal voters. So everything that states can do, I know Alabama just recently found that they had 3,600 illegal immigrants registered to vote. They were able to take them off and remove them from voter registration. But this, again, Alabama being a red state traditionally, what does that mean?
I wonder why they're not showing him.
Blue that aren't looking.
Is he reading right now?
And are looking to get as many votes that they can for the left.
I mean,
so anything
I just asked this guy cracks me up.
As a country should truly be doing everything we can to make sure that voter ID is required. We know that we need it. And
Dim Tool says he sounds like Joe Rogan. I guess a little bit,
for
yeah.
Arizona.
A little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you see a number of organizations out there trying to clear the voting rolls, but also having committeemen, committeewomen that are...
Yeah, it's absolutely insane that it's even a debate. over whether or not we require IDs to vote.
As well.
I vote in Wisconsin, and I have to show my ID.
Platform list is secure.
But that's not the case in every state. And the question has to be asked, why is it? Why do they not want to require ID? It's not like they just don't want to require ID and they just haven't implemented that law yet or that requirement yet. It's that they are actively fighting against the requirement of ID, and they use these excuses, these justifications for no ID, and the justifications are ridiculous. It's just that it's racist, or you're trying to suppress the vote.
Out there in Minnesota.
And of course, the double standard is always propped up by the Republicans. Well, at the DNC, for instance, you have to have an ID to get into the building. You have walls around the building. There is a function for these things because it protects the integrity of these events. It also protects the integrity of our elections. These walls protect the integrity of our country,
I wholeheartedly
the borders of our country. Because if we don't have borders, we don't have a country. You're not a country if you don't have borders. What is the point of a country if there are no borders?
Empty and unproductive party. They truly are.
But let me throw it back to this guy, see what he has to say.
The DNC, of all events, the holy grail, if you will, for Democrats, and your main topic is the person you're running against, and you're unable to put forth any sort of policy, anything that's coherent that people can really latch onto. It's truly, we've heard President Trump talk about things that are low energy, and I sadly have wasted my time watching the DNC, hoping to hear something, at least if there was something substantive that could go against President Trump, but they haven't put anything forth. So it's truly it's been a pathetic attempt to try and downplay President Trump and say things. We've seen Biden when he was there at his 12 o'clock slot when they finally tried to ship him off, and get rid of him forever. That he again repeated lies about remarks that President Trump made. I don't even want to repeat them because they're awful things. We know President Trump didn't say it. These have been fact checked. That you can check it on Snopes. So we know. These are the people that are rejoicing at the loss of freedom. Because I think they just feel so pathetic about their own lives. They're out of touch, from what I see with a lot of the Democrats here and a lot of the remarks that they make, seeing what a disaster it is outside of the DNC, hundreds of thousands of protesters. People, there's zero respect for law enforcement, breaking down walls. And speaking of walls at the DNC, we're here at the southern border where we're seeing a great portion of the wall that President Trump built. But DNC surrounded. They say that they're the party to welcome people and bring people in and bring people together. And yet they have massive walls around the DNC to keep the people that they say they want to bring in out.
Exactly. It's unbelievable. I mean, we need the wall to be completed by President Trump under a second administration. Also, I'm getting some news, reported news here. I'm going to find it. It was just on my phone. I don't see it right now. I'll get back to that in a second. But, we need the walls around our southern border and, of course, the northern border as we hopefully shut down the border. As President Trump said on a phone interview earlier today, you're allowed right now as the commander-in-chief to shut down the border, to completely close it. You don't need a bill, President Trump said. You can simply close the border. So you're seeing on one side of your screen there, and you're hearing from our RSBN correspondent, Mike Fortin, right now. The reason why he's not on camera is because obviously we're waiting to see President Trump arrive there and then, of course, take to that podium. I am going to try and find this article that was just sent to me by some of our producers here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I can't seem to locate it. I literally just had it up, but I'll get back to that in a second. So we do know, again, President Trump will be speaking around 3 o'clock Eastern time, so 12 o'clock on the West Coast there in Arizona.
What's going on, Shoemaker? Coming in over here from Lou Valentino, LV Nation. Welcome.
Kerry Lake, Andy Biggs, Abe Hamadeh, and others. Always good to see that. Speaking of Abe Hamadeh, as we await President Trump to be seen there in Arizona, producers, if we can air that Abe Hamadeh interview, hopefully we can keep the live shot as well from Cochise County right now. Just let me know, guys, if that's something that we can do. Again, number 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter IDs, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. I'm told we can go to that Abe Hamadeh interview from earlier this week. We'll keep that live.
They took down George's channel because of banned circumvention.
We'll be going right there
that
live.
is
So let's go to that Abe Hamadeh.
the reason why they gave. That's the reason they gave us, at least.
So much for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for having me on.
Definitely. A lot going on, of course, in the state of Arizona. You being a Trump-endorsed candidate, always a good thing. What are your thoughts about the DNC last night? It was kind of an interesting event.
Well, I think we have to kind of take a step back. How are we in this position where Joe Biden was, put out as the nominee, and they placed Kamala Harris with no votes. They placed Tim Walz with no votes. The same people who call us a threat to democracy are the true threats to democracy. They just hijacked the nomination convention in the process and subverted the will of the people. But if you look at Hillary Clinton was up there, it's kind of interesting to see her, because I know she had a lot of aspirations to be the first female president. Now she's up there getting behind Kamala. Then you had AOC over there. I mean, all of them, they're espousing truly socialist policies. And that's what's so scary right now, is the Democrat Party has truly become the party of socialism, of communism. I mean, they're openly calling for price controls. So the contrast couldn't be clearer right now between what the Republicans stand for, which is peace, prosperity, and safety, versus what the Democrats have, what we've lived under the Democrats, which is chaos, misery, and destruction. So, no matter the gaslighting they say and the lies that they say, I think the American people are waking up, and that they're seeing that there's a clear difference between Kamala Harris and President Trump.
Yeah, 100%. We know what it was like under President Trump in the first administration. Contrast that to what it's like now is unbelievable. Did you see, I don't know if you saw this on Truth Social, the Trump team posted a electoral map of the results between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and they said, we're just going to leave that there for the people to see. I mean, it's just the truth of what happened. Let's get to a Truth Social post. Speaking of that you posted on the 12th of August. You said, I am proud of MAGA. You are honoring our founding fathers by being awake and speaking the truth. Our country has been hijacked. It's going to take all of us to save it. Your primary victory proved that we can beat the billionaires, the corrupt media, the establishment, fake Republicans, and Democrat Marxists. Mic drop, Abe. Mic drop. I mean, that was awesome, and it really encouraged a lot of people. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you actually find the best post I do is always on Truth Social. I kind of save that and reserve that for that audience, just because I know everybody over there is like-minded, and it's true. It's going to take all of us to defeat this cabal that has really controlled Washington, D.C. and our country. So that's what I'm showing, and it really gave. I think my primary victory was an inspiration to many. I mean, we did take on. I think total it was about $10 million spent against me between the Koch brothers and all these billionaires. I mean, it was an insane type of primary, and I think people were underestimating me, and it's because they underestimate the American people.
Looks like we have some helicopters flying around.
Even imagine. We just have to stay united.
What a scene. Let's see what we got over here at Real America's Voice now. No, they're still talking.
If you look at the American people stand behind President Trump and candidates like,
so they're not effing around here.
We fight them.
They've got the place locked down.
Fearless in these times, in these dark times. And, honestly, these people aren't.
And really, that is kind of the perfect shot right there. Right in front of stacks of border wall.
I'm a happy warrior.
That is just the perfect shot. Brilliant.
And I love my country.
I wonder if Corey Lewandowski had anything to do with this.
And that's why
wouldn't surprise me.
Still in battle. We're going to go out and vote this November.
I like that guy.
We know our elections are a mess and compromised, but in order to get out of this mess, we have to have it too big to rig, just like my primary victory showed. And what we have to do is after I take office and when Kerry Lake's a senator here in Arizona, when President Trump's back in the Oval Office, we're going to bring election integrity to the forefront because I know it's one of the most pressing issues that I constantly hear on the campaign trail. And, we're going to things can change quickly. It changed quickly when President Trump won back in 2016, and it's going to change quickly after 2024 because President Trump, in many ways, he has that experience that he didn't have back then to now know how to go after some of these corrupt officials in the deep state.
Exactly. And then so many people right now, a lot of organizations, as you know, out there working for that election integrity and security for this election. But to your point, one of the GOP platforms, I believe it's number 19, is all about securing our election. So obviously that a big key. Now back to the DNC, night one. I heard a few of the Democratic speakers and statewide leadership say that Donald Trump, quote, only cares about himself.
Thanks for joining us, Bill. Thanks for being a member. Really appreciate you.
Preaching, but I saw that gas prices were $1.87. That was for us. Freedoms for us. A bullet for us, as you mentioned. Can you believe that, Abe? That they would. Okay, so we were going to get back to that Abe Hamadeh interview in just a bit. If you'd like to watch that, you can see that on Rumble and just scrub back on that. The reason why we're cutting into this coverage right there is because of this helicopter flying around a little bit. Not sure the details as to why that helicopter is flying in that area. We do know, now again, this is not in conjunction with this report that I'm about to share with you, but I do know that there's a report out there from the Daily Mail that Ronald Lee Servad, he's 66 years old, is being urgently sought by Arizona authorities after he allegedly threatened to shoot former President Donald Trump during a trip to the southern border on Thursday. This, according to some of our people here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, but it's not confirmed. This is a report from the Daily Mail. There are possibly other reports out there. I don't see all of them right now, but this was sent to me to share with you, the viewer, that may be in connection with that helicopter flying around looking in the area. We don't know. We don't have a confirmation on that, but we're just seeing what we can show you there. The helicopter, of course, flying around. And Mike Fortin, are you there, Mike?
Yeah, what's that? Copy. President Trump is arriving as we speak. I can tell you right now that the reports have been confirmed. Cochise County has confirmed there is an active manhunt underway for someone who has put a threat on President
active
Trump's
manhunt.
As you can see,
oh, let's go! It's getting spicy, right guys.
Let's
see if I can pull up that picture.
Right
that
now,
wanted poster. Hold on a second. This is like about as Western as it gets.
Up to date as we learn what's going on, but we have been informed this is 100% a real threat.
Okay, well there you go. And that helicopter may be looking obviously on the ground there for any actual threats right there at that scene. As you mentioned, Mike Fort.
So this
down the fort again.
This is what I saw on Twitter.
There you see President Trump.
George posted this.
With Secret Service, all of the plainclothes officers.
Cochise County Sheriff's Department is looking for a man named Ronald Servad,
doing a tour,
who made threats against Donald Trump at his border visit today. And this is what the guy looks like right here.
What's there? It might be
crazy.
Some of the wall that was supposed to be built. Who knows? But
white male, 6 foot. Wears glasses, 66 years old.
Again, this is Right Side Broadcasting Network. He
has outstanding warrants from the state of Wisconsin. Oh no!
The fourth, if not fifth,
state of Wisconsin. What's going on here
for the Trump campaign? And of course, President Trump will be in Glendale tomorrow and Las Vegas.
I hope the Secret Service is on their game today.
Glendale being
Let's hope the Secret Service is on their game, because this is wide open spaces and we got mountains and we got all sorts of perches.
Speaking there live in Glendale, we'll have our cameras there as well. And as you see, we have a camera there in Cochise County, and our SBN correspondent Mike Fortin is there. Mike, so you can confirm that, I mean, did you see President Trump in that SUV? Or, I mean, obviously it's him in my opinion, but did you see him at all?
I was unable to see him from my vantage point based on the movement that I'm seeing on the ground. I believe he is in the vehicle. I don't see the remainder of the motorcade here because it's very, very limited space. As also you mentioned, there is remnants of President Trump's wall that has yet to be built. That is all over the place. As far as the eye can see, there is just piles and piles of steel from when President Trump was in office, and unfortunately this wall was cut short. But it does appear, based on the movement that I'm seeing on the ground and security on the ground, that President Trump has arrived. He is expected to tour the area for about 15 or 20 minutes or so before he gives his remarks, but we're starting to see, it looks like, some members of the public and maybe some figures here in Cochise County arriving on site with the rest of President Trump's entourage. And again, just to confirm, we do have confirmed reports that this is an active search for a real threat. The helicopter is still circling the area. I can tell you that Secret Service does have their eyes all over the area. You know, a little tense here on the media riser, I'll be honest with you. We don't know what to expect, but obviously we do feel pretty secure with the security that we have. Definitely security around.
I wonder if they're going to bring out that
area has increased as well. So
bulletproof glass.
Keep you up to date as we learn.
He needs a bulletproof bubble, like a bubble that goes, you know, all around him, and they just put it in there.
Matthew Alvarez here at the
maybe pump in some like cool air, have like an air vent in there.
President and hopefully the 47th.
I hope he's wearing a bulletproof vest.
The SUV there, a number
because this is kind of dangerous where he's at. This is
in the sense of security.
I don't know, man. This is a little bit.
Obviously,
a little bit crazy.
Green light at this point down there, especially with the.
Dude, I got all nervous when he stepped out from behind the bulletproof glass last night.
Saying, some threats, but
just to go and hug that lady who I guess almost passed out from dehydration.
There with a number of local law enforcement, state, county, federal as well. There along the southern border as President Trump is getting that look. You know, he talks about this a lot in his speeches. He says, you know, I've got miles and miles of wall that I've built, but also, you see it right there. That is the wall that President Trump has not been built yet. The steel for that wall.
Patrick says they need to use the bubble they use for the Pope. Yes, they do.
We'll be spending some time with
it's a good point.
A number of American families that have lost loved ones.
All right, let's see if we get any movement happening here pretty soon. There's one of his campaign managers, John Miller, I believe. Isn't that his name? The big guy in the suit on the left.
Immigrants from the southern border. On top of that,
one of his advisors.
The possibility of non-citizens voting in our U.S. general election some 74 days away. Mike Fortin, your thoughts right now, sir, as you see President Trump. You might not see him from your vantage point. I know it's the camera zoomed in, but what is it like to be there where President Trump has always talked about this southern border and the wall that he has built?
Well, to see him on site of something that he himself has been personally responsible for, you know, I cannot see him. I cannot see him from my vantage point where I am, but I can tell you that
there he is.
You know, knowing that
he goes, I cannot see him from the vantage point I am, and Trump is literally walking right there.
Really, just
he's right there.
Best to stymie
this guy cracks me up. If you guys are just joining us, this reporter who's at RSBN,
one of the things that
he's been bombing this entire time. Yeah, I think he's new. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen him on RSBN before.
One thing that he stood on since day one of his presidency and throughout this run is illegal immigration, and we've seen what it's done to the country. We've seen what it's done to states like New York and California, and notably Texas and Arizona. You know, obviously there's everywhere you go along the border, everyone has their issues, whether it's the actual illegal immigration itself, whether it's the drug crisis the cartels bringing in fentanyl, or you know, human trafficking, which, you know, I personally don't believe we hear enough about. But to be here and really hear more about the horrors of the fentanyl crisis and the human trafficking, which was tragic earlier when I was talking to law enforcement. So, you know, I really look forward to hearing him give an impassioned and bold speech here in Cochise County at the border.
And be quick while he's not.
Mike, I hear you loud and clear. And then you see President Trump in the center of your screen right now. This broadcast brought to you by Free Trump Book, freetrumpbook.com. If you're looking to get the reversal of all of the indoctrination from some school districts out there with the youth, the Free Trump Book is something that helps paint the correct picture of the truth of what really happened under the.
Yeah, I want to get that feed. The guy, the sheriff that's holding the camera. Where do I find that feed? It's not on Trump's Rumble. It's not on his YouTube. Maybe they're just filming an ad. That's probably what they're doing, filming some sort of ad or something like that that they're going to play later.
So always good to have a product like that.
You would think it'd be on his Rumble, though.
All right, so President Trump on his Truth Social account said something about today's visit, and I'm going to get to that right here. He said, quote, "Today I am going to inspect the southern border and to meet with the victims whose loved ones were attacked and murdered by illegal aliens set free into America by Comrade Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat presidential candidate who didn't receive one vote. And in her earlier attempt to win against crooked Joe Biden was the first one out of 22 people to quit the race and never made it to the first state, Iowa." All right, so that post continues to go on there, but talking about Comrade Kamala Harris or Kamala, however you want to announce the first name there, Kamala.
It's Kamala.
Comrade Kamala.
That's what Bill Clinton calls her, Kamala.
Thousands more illegal alien rapists, drug dealers, and killers. But President Donald J. Trump will keep these same people out of our country and send them back to their countries where they belong. I will keep America safe. So,
all right, guys.
As you see there, President Trump shaking hands.
We got mogul on the move. You guys remember that was Donald Trump's code word?
With various
mogul, code name mogul.
Right now, as you are watching live coverage here as President Trump visits the southern border in Cochise County. This one of many stops this week for the president. J.D. Vance also touring the country. Tomorrow, President Trump will have a huge rally.
Yeah, they got a tight perimeter around him right there.
Las Vegas, but the story of the day right here, the truth teller, President Trump.
I don't know if that's private security or if it's Secret Service.
There on the southern border, something
might have a mix of both there today.
Once under the Harris-Biden administration. So, as you guys know, a lot of lies on the left from the DNC in Chicago all week. They all sound like they're true, but they're not. That's just twisting the truth, and that's what they've been saying about the 45th president all week, mentioning his name. Mike, as you know, Mike Fortin live there in Cochise County. I mean, can you believe it? 314 times they've used President Trump's name so far this week, and that is pales in comparison when they've talked about the economy maybe 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, I mean, they are the DNC and the speakers have really truly been passionate.
Oh, guys, I found it. I freaking found it. Here we go.
To your remark earlier.
Let me mute this. There we go. Okay. Boom.
Destroying our country. And she's the leader of the pack. She destroyed San Francisco. Absolutely destroyed it. She destroyed California. You can't go into California. You can't go into San Francisco.
Smash that like button, guys. Let's go.
15 years ago was the best city in the country.
Not the best feed in the world, but it works.
And now you can't do anything. Look at what she's done. And now she's going to be president, and she's going to do the exact same thing. She's going to have no borders. She's going to have no... Everything's going to be open. This will all be taken down. But take a look at where it ends. It ends right there. That's where they stop. They were going to finish it. So they go up to the top, and they come in. And you were just saying that's where the big drug stuff comes in.
So what they do is they'll utilize this area. They'll distract agents to come here and just over that hill where there's no heroin and
where there's no wall. We built hundreds of miles of wall. Opening up there, and you see it right over here. 5 cents on the dollar, but you see it right over here. Inside.
So it must be a pretty rough feed out there. This is from them. Their live stream must be kind of rough.
Very hard.
Let me try to refresh it, see if that helps at all. No, it's from them. It's Fox.
She said, she came out.
So we're just going to have to suffer through it, guys. Sorry.
Her whole life is about open borders. And if they win, there's no border. We'll have 100 million people come in from the rest of the world, not just South America. They come.
And as we said, those sometimes they're close to the border. It can be a little tough to get those great signals. So again, we're going to keep showing you different images and sides that we do have of former President Donald Trump as he is getting ready to speak there for his formal remarks. This is what we were just showing you is some video as he was walking there alongside the border. But again, this is something that we're going to continue to follow here as we're pulling up the latest there on the border. Let's listen back in to former president.
So is that work like nobody believes, right, Paul? Do you agree with that? Walls work at a level that nobody could believe. Remember when I first did it, they say walls don't work. Two things work: walls. Everything else is up. 2 minutes. Why don't we go down here and we'll talk?
Two things work, he says. Walls and something else. What do you guys think he was going to say? Walls and what? Walls and guns? Hey, we got a super chat from Bill Phillips. He says, great work, Unwoke Thoughts, Andrew. By far my favorite channel for the info and chat. Hey, thanks, man.
All right, we are.
I'm glad you enjoy it.
Much better view now of former president.
Much appreciated.
Finally walking up to that main podium. This is where we were getting ready to expect him to take those remarks and say what he has to say. You see as the gaggle of camera and press are around him. Again, we've been showing you different images of him walking alongside the border as well as getting ready to come up to the podium to make his official remarks on immigration. Again, we do know that he's there in Cochise County, there in Arizona, at the U.S.-Mexico border. He is being hosted by the Cochise County Sheriff, Mark Daniels. He's also going to be joined by the Sierra Vista Mayor. She's a Democrat that has turned independent in the coming up election. But again, that's former President Donald Trump speaking to reporters as he's walking alongside the border. It's just kind of tough with these feeds. They're at the border, not great signal. So we can't really hear the former president. But again, he's going to be coming up to make those formal remarks. We're going to bring that to you live, raw, and unfiltered as it happens.
Yeah, I'm going through other news channels.
You know that he's visiting the border.
And they're all just
there to campaign.
They're all just freezing. So most of them must be coming from just like one main camera, and they're just streaming to multiple news channels or something. I don't know.
Became president back in 2016.
But there's one that's just not moving at all. Crazy.
Several different battleground states this week.
See what we're at with RSBN. See what they're up to over here. Flip back over.
We all know what happened in 2020. We know that President Trump should actually be wrapping up his second administration right now, if you want to hear my personal opinion, right? But we do know that he is obviously running for all of America as a president for all of America this 2024 election cycle. Let's go back to Mike Fortin there. Mike, you know, we were talking before, you being you said you're from Florida, you've been living in California, and now you've moved since then. But the southern border is just, you know, for the people that live in Pennsylvania or Kansas or Idaho and all that around the country, they don't understand sometimes how terrible it is living along the southern border, even though sometimes they do get shipped there, illegal immigrants do as well.
Yeah, I think the immigration problem doesn't reach necessarily that far when you're talking about middle America, so they're not able to relate to people that are in these border cities, in these border towns, you know, that are affected by this on a day-to-day basis. I heard some folks talking earlier, giving their stories of getting woken up in the middle of the night with people running through their property, running, you know, excuse me one second as we get to remarks.
All right, here we go, guys. Smash that like button.
27 years I've been defending this border, and I can tell you that we have never seen a border as chaotic as the one we're at now. The southern border and now the northern border are completely out of control. Under President Trump, we had the best policies in place that dropped levels to the levels that were the lowest in the history of this country. Now we have the complete opposite. President Trump knew exactly what needed to be done. He listened to the experts. To my right is what we call Trump Wall. This was wall that was built under President Trump. To my left, we have what we call Kamala Wall. It's just sitting there doing nothing, laying down. That's what this border's become, an open border. The country on the national stage isn't respected because we need somebody strong like President Trump. We need him in there to make sure that we close the border, protect our fellow citizens from the amounts of Chinese fentanyl that's crossing the borders, making its way into cities and towns across the country, killing our citizens. Hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of people are dying every day. Cartel violence is at an all-time high. Illegal immigrant crime is at an all-time high. We've got our citizens, our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, neighbors that are being killed every day by
Killing our
illegal aliens.
citizens.
Hundreds and hundreds, thousands and thousands of people are dying every day. Cartel violence is at an all-time high. Illegal immigrant crime is at an all-time high. We've got our citizens, our brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, friends, neighbors that are being killed every day by illegal aliens that are committing crimes that were brought into this country by this administration. They allowed them unfettered access to our borders. They're being released by the tens of thousands. Over 10 million known people have been released into this country by this administration. The untold number of gotaways is astounding. That's something that should scare everybody in this country because the known gotaways are what we know got away, but the unknown gotaways are those people that have elected to evade apprehension. And by evading apprehension, they're telling us one thing: they do not want to be caught. These are bad people, criminal aliens. We need somebody strong on this border like President Trump.
Thank you, President. August 22nd, 2017, a few months into his presidency, President Trump came to Yuma, Arizona to evaluate firsthand how his policies were benefiting the city of Yuma. It was a great visit. He spoke with over 100 AMO, CBPO, and Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook every single one of their hands. He listened to every single one of their concerns, and he acted on that. November 19th, 2023, President Trump was in Edinburgh, Texas, serving National Guardsmen, DPS officers, and a few off-duty Border Patrol agents. During that time, he shook over 200 people's hands and listened to what they had to say. These are the rank and file. That's why that wall is successful. He listened to the men and women that were on the front lines on exactly what needed to be on that wall. He listened to what they had to say. Contrast that with Kamala Harris, and nobody can say that I didn't try to work with her. I met with her transition team. I told her transition team exactly what would happen if they got rid of his policies. We suggested policies to her within her parameters, and she refused to listen. I met with Secretary Mayorkas, again, trying to work with this administration. I supported Secretary Mayorkas' confirmation. It was a big mistake that would never happen again. But in conveying to him, again, the policies that would actually work within their parameters, Kamala Harris completely ignored those policies. She claims that she wants a humane, safe border. Yet what she's given us is absolute chaos. We had a safe border. She could have implemented policies. She refused to do this. This election is going to come down to policies. And when you compare President Trump's policies, it doesn't matter. Economic policies, foreign policy, border security policy, it doesn't matter. You compare those policies side by side, and he wins every day. That's why we have to have somebody in the White House that is going to listen to the women and men that know what they're talking about, that are on the ground, like President Trump did before, and like he will do again. President Trump will be back in the White House, and we will secure this border. Thank you, President.
Wow.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Downs. I'm the sheriff here in Cochise County, Arizona here, and also the chairman for National Sheriff Association for Border Security. Let me just say, on behalf of America's sheriffs, behalf of my good citizens here and all those who wear a badge, thank you, President Trump, for coming here. We appreciate you, and it's good seeing you again also. I will say this, my community's tired, my community's frustrated. Over the last 3.5 years, what we've dealt in this county when it comes to crime, the policies that have failed this country, the policies that have failed our citizens, and the tragedies that my neighbors are addressing silently because nobody's listening. Over the last 31 months here in Cochise County, you see the real impact of a community. We have booked 3,762 people in my county jail for border-related crimes. These are not immigration issues. These are border-related crimes up to double-digit murders. It's cost my county $12.5 million. I get $0 from the federal government on that. When President Trump took office, 6 years ago, you probably never heard much about fentanyl. President Trump's last year in office in 2020, there was a little 2 million pills seized in Arizona. Last year, there was 111 million fentanyl pills seized in Arizona. You wonder where the epidemic's coming from? It's our cartels who have been allowed to commit these crimes.
They're saying that it's too bright back.
And I'll say this, thanks to 51% of Congress, we have cut our DEA budgets in this country. We have less DEA agents in Arizona than we ever had before, and we lead the nation with fentanyl. I will say this, here's the community touch, our neighbors. These mountains right behind me here, we had a Border Patrol agent attacked early in the morning by 2 migrants, came across the border illegally, tried to cut his throat. Months later, had a deputy tried to interdict a smuggler at 100 miles an hour, who met Mr. Trump, President Trump this morning, almost killed. We called the chaplain because we thought he was leaving us. The impact we saw on that. The river behind you, we had the cartels trying to kidnap my deputies, my border team, to torture them. We had the cartel come across the border early mornings to kidnap and kill one of my deputies because they're allowed to think that way. They're allowed to think that way. My deputies, troopers, agents, and officers in this county have endured more harm by the hands of the cartels, and no one is addressing them except local law enforcement and our agents and our troopers. I will say this as I close out. America's sheriffs have stood strong on the voice to secure our borders. We had tried everything to meet with President Biden and Vice President Harris, the border czar. They are the first, this is the first president administration in modern day that has never met with one America's sheriff to address border. That's a shame, and you wonder why we don't have engagement, prioritization, and that's why we're suffering this country. When President Trump was president, I was at the White House more than you can think of. He was always there for us. I can assure you, Mr. President, this community and our law enforcement professionals will never give up hope. To us, hope is confidence, hope is commitment, hope is courage, and your visit today renews our hope here. Thank you, Mr. President, for being here.
Yeah, see the Harris campaign do this. Could you imagine Harris cackling on the border? That'd be wild. All right, the man speaking.
Very much, everybody. It's very sad time for this country in many ways. We had a candidate. I was no fan of Joe Biden, but the way he was taken out was a coup. We got 14 million votes, and the person running now got none. She was disgraced. She was figured out by the Democrat voters. She never made it to Iowa. She was the first one out of approximately 22 people that were running for the Democrat nomination. She never even made it to Iowa. Beautiful place, Iowa. But she didn't. Plenty of people did. And Biden got 14 million votes. She got no votes, and now she's running against us. The good news is I think we're winning in the polls based on what I'm seeing. And after the debate, we were winning by many points, as you know, against Biden. They went in to see him. They said, "You're losing. You're not going to win. You can't win. We're going to get you out." It was a coup of an American president. And it was done with anger, and he's more angry than anybody. And again, I'm no fan of his. I think he was perhaps the worst president. He was the worst president, largely because of what's happened at the border. He's allowed, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the gentleman behind me who know this better than anybody, much more than 20 million people into our country. Many from prisons and jails, many from mental institutions, insane asylums, and many terrorists. And this was, when I left, this is a very famous chart now because this chart probably saved my life. But this chart is showing, the arrow on the bottom shows that this was the lowest. This was the last week in office for me because of a horrible, horrible election where I got many millions more votes than I got the first time. But didn't quite make it, just a little bit short. We've got to clean up our borders, we have to clean up our elections, or we're not going to have a country. But that's my last week. The arrow on the bottom, you see, that's the lowest point, as the gentlemen were talking. That's the lowest point in the recorded history of the border. This was done by Border Patrol. This wasn't done by Trump. This was done by Border Patrol, working with ICE and law enforcement. And that's what we're going to do. Again, if you take a look, interestingly, at all of the wall that's laying on its side, that could have been put up in a matter of weeks. It was all set to go. It was all cut out. And if you look at the top of the mountain behind us, it was all shaped, all ready to go. Could have been put up in a few weeks. Much of it's been sold for 5 cents on the dollar. It's very expensive. I worked with Border Patrol very closely. We worked, Brandon, we worked with all of you people. And we wanted to design something that worked. And we actually had mountain climbers. We even had drug climbers. They call them drug climbers. They can get over a wall like so incredible with 75 pounds of drugs on their back. They can climb up things. And we designed this after looking at a lot of different designs. And that's an anti-climb panel that makes it very tough for somebody to climb. This was the one that they wanted. A little more expensive version, but this is the one that's a very important panel on top. And it's called anti-climb. And this was put in here just to shade us because there's a lot of rough people on the other side. So I figured you're the media, you want to be shaded. This gets taken off. This is just temporary to shade us from potential hazard. We know about hazards. But all of this wall was built at great expense, and all it had to be, erected. We just had we stood up on its end, concrete on the bottom, goes down 6 feet. It also went down and shielded from tunnels because we went down about as far as it's practical for them to go down. They build tunnels under walls. We went down pretty deep. We'd go down a lot deeper than the wall, made it very tough for them. And we stopped that, and we stopped people from coming over. But when they refused to, I built hundreds of miles of this, by the way, as far as the eye can see. You look at the other direction, as far as the eye could see, and then I'd hear people say, oh, he didn't build the wall. We built the wall. We built much more than I was anticipated to build. And we were going to build an extra 200 miles. Much of this is that, which is much more than I said I was going to do, because as we built it, they would go around the edges. So we were going further and further out, and it worked. We had the best numbers ever, and we had them largely because of the wall, and also because the Mexican military helped us, which they never helped at any time. They never helped. And we were very proud of it. So we went from the best numbers in recorded history to the worst numbers in recorded history or any other history. And
we're going to have very strong borders, and we're going to have very strong elections soon. I
like this view better.
The people are fed up. It's common sense. The people are just fed up. And you saw it. Everybody coming from the airport saw the thousands and thousands of people lined up. It looked like Lindbergh coming in from what he did at the time. Broadway, it was amazing when you see all those people it's a long drive from the airport, and so many thousands and thousands of people. People in my car say, I've never seen anything like that. We're in the middle of an area that's not well populated, and to have thousands of people like that is pretty unbelievable. I hope you got to see it, and I hope the press rates the story fairly, because it's a story of disgrace. We had a border czar who was the border czar. She loved the title, but she didn't want to do the work because she's lazy, and probably more importantly than being lazy, she wants to have an open border. And you say, who would want an open border where criminals can pour into our country? And all you have to do is walk up there, if you have the courage to do it, and go to that open section, stand there for a little while. You'll be running back here very quickly. You really have to write this fairly, this story, because you people don't want to talk about the border. You don't want to talk about the bad things that are going on in our country. We're going to end up not having a country. You're not going to have any media. We don't have media. They don't have media. They do their own media. They don't need media. But you really should cover this story fairly. Before I begin, I have some, I think, very good words on the border and what to do and how to solve the problem. We had it solved. All they had to do is leave it. Leave it. Just leave it. But before I begin, I want to address the fake job numbers on top of everything else, fellas. Fake jobs. The fake job numbers that the Harris-Biden administration has been reporting for the last year. Thanks to a leaker yesterday, meaning probably in this case a patriot, they were forced to release numbers. They claimed falsely that they created 818,000 jobs. So they said they did almost 1 million jobs, 818,000 jobs that actually didn't exist. They were phantom jobs. They're called phantom jobs. The reason they did that is because I was even a little surprised their job numbers look better, because I know the economy's lousy. Everyone here knows it's lousy. These people behind me know it's lousy. We have the worst inflation, I believe, in the history of our country, and that's absolutely killing people. But it's 818,000 jobs, almost 1 million, and these are just the jobs we found out about. There's a lot of other false things that now are being looked at. That number will increase. So they reported false numbers, and this isn't a revision. There's never been anything like this. This is a fraud put out by Harris and by Biden, and they were going to release the real numbers. It's called a revision after the election, but it got found out before the election. And I hope you're going to write about it, but it's a big story, and it's a story that's going to be going very far. The people are very upset about it, including government officials are very upset about it. Even people that are Democrats are because it's a pure fraud. You know, when you have a revision, you have a few jobs one way or the other, and they get it straight at the end of the month. But this one was sheltered for a long time, and they wanted to release it after November 5th. I wonder why, when it didn't really matter too much, but even then it mattered. But so I hope you're going to report it. Almost 1 million jobs were phantom jobs. They were fake jobs, just like a lot of reporting is fake. And I hope you're going to report it because people have to hear it. They didn't want these numbers to come out, and they did come out, and I really, the whistleblower or whoever it was that got them to have to do it, somebody today, a high official said, well, we don't really believe those numbers because Trump gave them. I didn't give them. I got them from the administration, from the Labor Bureau, and these are the stats that were just let out. In fact, officially, I mean, they just came out. They were released in, officially released. Those are official numbers. Has nothing to do with me. I just happen to be playing the role of a reporter for a change. But I hope you're going to do something with it because I think it's a serious thing. It's the same as everything else. And I'm so glad that we decided to do this. It's a little dangerous to do. I hate to tell you, you guys are in danger with the kind of weaponry that we have, but I felt it was important to do. And this kind of stuff that they put up to shield us, I'm going to make you feel not so good. It doesn't mean a thing compared to what comes through there, but at least they can't see you. But it's dangerous territory, and these people have an unbelievable courage. The Border Patrol, ICE, the police, local law enforcement, unbelievable. I don't even know how they do it. They talk about, I was courageous. These people are courageous. They go through this every day. And the amount of horrible injuries sustained in fights and shootings are just incredible. Not reported, but incredible. We're here today on the southern border in Arizona where Comrade Kamala Harris, I call her comrade because she is a radical left Marxist. She wants open borders. She wants our country. I don't understand why anybody would want it, but she wants our country to be open to the world's criminals so they can come in and rape and pillage and do whatever they have to do. But she's the most radical left person who has ever run for high political office in our country's history. And by the way, the governor, who's done a poor job as governor of Minnesota, Walz, he's done a poor job, very poor job. His numbers are horrible. People are fleeing his state. I love his state. We should have won his state twice, but a lot of hanky-panky goes on there. Hasn't been won since 1972. Richard Nixon was the last one to win it. But every time I go in there, we have massive crowds and everything's good, but nobody seems to be able to. I know why we didn't win it. People don't like to talk about it. But he's a horrible governor, has bad job numbers, bad numbers for leaving, a lot of people leaving the state. And he's insisted, he put a bill. I'm sure the sheriffs would be very happy when they hear this. He signed a bill fairly recently where boys' bathrooms have to have tampons in boys' bathrooms. I don't even like to bring this subject up, but it's a subject you have to hear about. That's what he radical left guy who lied like hell last night, and she'll lie tonight. We're doing a review of her tonight on Truth because she'll lie just like the rest of them lied. They talked about what I said about soldiers. I never said anything. I love our soldiers. They made the story up. It was fiction. We had 26 people countering it, but nobody cares. They made up everything, so many different stories. They made up about Project 25. They've been told officially, legally, in every way that we have nothing to do with Project 25. They know it, but they bring it up anyway. They bring up every single thing that you can bring up. Every one of them was false. He brought them up. But they've unleashed a deadly plague of migrant crime on our country by not doing their job. And all of that plank and all of that very expensive wall, it's also got tremendous electronic capability inside of it. It's got wires for cameras and everything else you can have. It's the Rolls-Royce of walls, I can tell you. It's very hardened steel outside, 7,000-pound concrete inside, and rebar inside of the concrete, all different, all very hard to get through. And it's sad to see it sitting here. We have crime going on up the road. In this direction, it's as far as you can see the wall. We have no problem there, but they come in where they refuse to put it up. That was when I first realized that they want open borders. I thought nobody could be so foolish or stupid to want open borders and have the world's population, the world's criminal population pour into our country. That's what's happening. But it shattered so many families' lives and stolen so many incredible young lives. And it's also really badly hurt our black population and our Hispanic population because these people are taking their jobs. The jobs now are down, way down for the black population and the Hispanic population because we have millions of illegal aliens that have poured into our country. They've taken the jobs of African Americans and Hispanics. And that was obvious to me. Next is going to be unions. You watch. The unions are going to start going wild because those jobs are going to be taken too. We're honored to really be here with these incredible people, and in particular with some grieving families. And this is a group of people that I've gotten to know. They're incredible people. They've lost a loved one, and thousands of others are out there, and they are grieving also, but they're not out with you and sitting in this hot sun. I will say this, that at least it gives us a good reason. We're doing something for those incredible people that we'll be talking about very shortly, because we can't let it happen to other people. We can't let what you're going through happen to other families. And you know what you're going through, as we discussed, nobody's ever seen anything like it. All for no reason whatsoever. And these are hardened criminals pouring into our country. And then they always say, Sheriff, oh, the illegal immigrants don't commit crimes like people that live here. It's so wrong. They don't report them, but it's so wrong. They make our criminals look like babies. They make our criminals look like babies. That's about the only thing good. Our criminals all of a sudden don't look so tough to us, right? These are the roughest people, and they're the roughest people from all over the world. Their jails are being emptied from all over the world. The criminals are being taken from their cities. And by the way, their crime rates are way down. Their crime rates came way down. Venezuela, all of these countries, their crime rates are down. Their prison population's down. Soon they won't have any prison population because 100% of it will be in our country, with the statement, if you ever come back, we will kill you. That's the statement they tell them. If you ever come back to Venezuela and other countries, we will kill you. But it's all over the world. The Congo in Africa, many prisoners let go from the Congo in Africa. Rough prisoners. All over Europe they come, from all over, rough sections, the jails. You have to see jail populations are way down. So we've done a lot of trips to the border over the years and told a lot of stories about border victims, including the stories of the amazing angel moms who have never been appreciated. They're incredible women, what they've gone through. They're going through a similar thing. And I asked about time, but this time, because many of them, this took place a long time ago with borders and horrible people coming in. And I don't have to tell you about the crimes, but the level of the viciousness of the crime was unbelievable. But they said time doesn't heal. You know, the expression time heals all wounds. I spoke to some people, they say they're worse now than they were 15 years ago. And this started largely during Obama. And then we stopped it. We had it stopped. And then the first day in, they just said, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything. And all they had to do is let our people that we had in place, the best people. I was listening to people like Tom Homan, who is, just an incredible patriot, tough, smart, gets it, good man, but he's tough. I've been listening to all these people. They've been friends of mine for a long time. They know it better than anybody. But the level of criminality is unbelievable. It's an onslaught of violence at a level that nobody's ever seen before. For nearly 4 years, as border czar, Comrade Kamala has overseen a nation-wrecking border invasion. This is nation-wrecking. This isn't just like, we're going to fix it a little bit later. Gets to a point where you can't fix it. She's allowed at least 20 million people, all illegal aliens, into our country, including millions and millions of unvetted fighting-age men from over 158 different countries.
Looks like their feed just cut out, guys.
Gets to a point where you can't.
So I'm going to go back to this one over here.
She's allowed at least 20 million people, all illegal aliens, into our country, including millions and millions of unvetted fighting-age men from over 158 different countries. 150. Most people didn't realize you had that many countries, right? Just recently, Kamala let in the head of a Peruvian gang who is wanted for 23 murders. Welcome to the United States of America. On her orders, Border Patrol is being forced to free tens of thousands of illegal aliens from custody week after week after week. And these are very violent criminals, too. These are the most violent criminals that you'll ever see. Every day brings another story about innocent Americans being tortured, raped, murdered, and massacred by illegal aliens that Kamala Harris has set free in our country. Don't hold them, they're told. Don't hold them, let them free. They'll behave. Well, he killed 20 people. Oh, but over here it's different. Since Comrade Harris took over the border, there has been a 43% nationwide increase in violent crime and a 60% increase in rape. And the FBI should be ashamed of themselves when they report numbers, because in order to keep the violence numbers down, they didn't report some of the worst cities in the country, like Chicago and others. What a disgrace. The FBI did that. In New York this June, an illegal alien released into our country by Kamala approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight in front of other people, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrist, and raped them over and over again. Over and over again. 2 Kamala migrants were just arrested for the rape of a 46-year-old woman in Coney Island. I know Coney Island very well. That's where I sort of started. My office was out there. Brooklyn, throwing her to the ground and raping her with a knife to her throat. One of them had previously been arrested for raping another woman, but instead of being deported, he was released into our country and told to enjoy your life. In Fort Wayne, Indiana, a woman who was offered a ride home by 2 illegal aliens was instead kidnapped, held down and raped, then driven around while the illegals discussed how they planned to kill her. They wanted to kill her. They didn't want to have a witness. And she miraculously escaped by throwing herself out of a rapidly moving car, was badly hurt, but she escaped. At least those people came from another country, and they were very violent with an unbelievably violent background. Violence like you've never seen. In the Bronx recently, an illegal alien who Kamala set loose into the country approached a 36-year-old woman while pretending to ask for directions before he wrapped his arms around her throat, pinned her down on a park bench, and raped her publicly on a park bench. And she said he wasn't trying to rape me, he was trying to kill me. In Michigan earlier this year, an illegal alien broke into a residence and sexually assaulted 2 young girls, doing tremendous damage to these 2 young, beautiful girls. In Virginia, a few weeks ago, a 54-year-old mother of 4 was leaving a convenience store when she noticed an illegal alien trying to steal her car. When she tried to stop him, he ran her down, ran her over, and left her dead on the ground. She was dead. And her family is devastated. In Texas last month, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in by Comrade Kamala shot a female police officer multiple times with a rifle. And she'll never be the same. And that's being nice about it. A few months ago, I met with the devastated family of Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student who was out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia when she was assaulted, beaten, and horrifically murdered. Kamala Harris let in the illegal alien animal who murdered Laken. This monster was in Border Patrol custody, under very strong custody. They didn't want to let him go. But under Kamala's policies, he was set free to kill, and that's what he did. Kamala let this bloodthirsty killer go free, and then he murdered beautiful Laken, #1 in her class, nursing school. Everybody aspired to be like her. She was the best student, the best everything. Beautiful girl. Then there's the heartbreaking story of Rachel Morin. And we're joined today by Patty and Michael Morin, Rachel's mother and brother. And I met with them, we had lunch, and they're devastated at a level that nobody can really imagine. Rachel was a cherished 37-year-old mom, beautiful woman of 5 incredible children who adored their mother more than anything in the world. They loved their mom. Earlier this year, while Rachel was out on a run, she wants to keep herself in good shape, and she ends up getting killed. In her neighborhood, she was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien who was led into America by Kamala Harris and her policies of stupidity. Savage person who committed this heinous crime first killed another woman in El Salvador before walking across our open border. Just walked right in. They didn't have this then. He then attacked a 9-year-old girl and her mother in a home invasion in Los Angeles where they were very badly hurt before murdering Rachel. And the area where Rachel lived in a very different part of this country. It was cold-blooded murder. Patty and Michael, I would just, first of all, thank you for being here. I know it's tough, but they want to let people understand what's going on here, because this can't happen to other parents and sisters and brothers and husbands. So if you would, I'd love you to say a few words. Thank you.
I was just thanking President Trump for the invitation to come to share Rachel's story. Rachel was 37 years old. She had 5 children. She worked. She owned a small business. She worked very hard to support her family. And the trail that Rachel ran daily was a trail that we as a family would walk over the last 25 years that we've lived in Maryland. It's a very safe, small trail, very public, very open. Moms with baby carriages go down this trail. It's very safe. I was in Kentucky. We had a grandbaby that had passed away. When I got a phone call from my son, and he said, "Mom, there's somebody here that would like to speak to you." And when I said hello, the person on the other end said, "Hello, Mrs. Morin. This is Detective so-and-so. I'm the lead detective on this case. There's no easy way to tell you this, but we found your daughter's body. And if they find the body, you know that she's dead. And they wouldn't say, 'We found Rachel, she's alive.'" And so they found my daughter's body, and when they found it, it just recently has come out that she was brutally beaten, raped, and then stuffed into a drain pipe. We're 18,000 miles, 1,800 miles from the border. And because of this open border, we've had not just my daughter, but we've actually had 2 in the same county that we're from, where illegal immigrants have come in and have caused rape and murder of our citizens. And the reason why I came here today and I accepted the invitation is because I really want our words to be heard, and I really want you to take to heart what we're saying. We're not here for a political stand, although we are. We're here because we're losing our moms, our daughters, our children to criminals. And that shouldn't happen. We should be taking care of our country, our people. And the only way I believe that's going to happen is if President Trump is reelected as president, and we close up this border and we put policies back into place that were there before, instead of this open border thing. We're going to end up being a third world country if it continues this way. And I truly hope that you just take my words to heart, because it's devastating to lose a child, but even more devastating when you see the pictures or you see the body and you really understand what's happened to that person. So please take to heart, this is a very, very important issue, and it's one that's either going to make or break our country. It's not so much, it's about America, it's about Americans, it's about us taking and protecting ourselves and looking out for each other. It's about protecting our families. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Boy, and there's story after story like that. Also with us is Alexis Nungari and Hoamel Guevara, the loving mother and uncle of precious Angel Jocelyn Nungari. Jocelyn was a 12-year-old girl from Houston whose life was stolen by two criminal illegals that Harris freed into our country for no reason whatsoever. They were known as monsters. 2 months ago, after walking to the convenience store, these criminal migrants kidnapped Jocelyn, tied her up for 2 hours, violently assaulted her, and strangled her violently to death. Charged with Jocelyn's wicked murder are two illegal aliens from Venezuela who came across our border. Just walked across like there was nothing to it. Couldn't do that 5 years ago, 4 years ago. They were in Border Patrol custody. They were gotten, they were nabbed, and were then released into our country. Alexis, we cannot fathom your pain. There are so many people that are going through this pain, but we pledge to always hold Jocelyn in our hearts. And Alexis, I'd like to have you maybe come up and say a few words. Thank you very much.
So I would love to thank Donald Trump for giving us this invitation to be here and to say a few words to the staff that's been so kind to help us in this very hard time. My daughter was just 12. She had dreams to be famous. She wanted to be a famous actor. She was so funny. She was her own personality. And it's been very hard. It's been very hard. June 17th was the day her life was taken. She was left with no clothing from the waist down, was thrown in a bayou, left was strangled to death. We believe, yes, she was assaulted off of DNA kit that has been, but it's still very, very early, and it's still very, very raw, and it's still very, very surreal. And they had no reason to do anything that they did to Jocelyn. There was over 300 detention beds that they should have been at because they were detained and they were released when they shouldn't have been released. One had an ankle monitor, didn't stop anything. So now I have to go through the rest of my life with my son, always asking for his sister. And I just really, really, really want everybody to please take into consideration how important border control is, because we're losing very innocent people to heinous crimes that shouldn't be happening in the first place. So please, please, I really hope everybody can hear my pain, to just please, please, he needs to be in office, and we need better control. We need to stop this. We need to stop losing our littles. We need to stop losing children, mothers, sisters, because now I get to grieve every single day. Every milestone that hits gets harder because she's not there for it. She was gonna be a 7th grader. She had her whole life ahead of her. Her whole life ahead of her, and it was viciously taken away by two evil, evil, heinous monsters. So thank you again for taking the time to listen to my words. And please, help him make a change. Thank you. Thank you.
So Jocelyn is in heaven now, looking down on us right now. And in her name and her memory, we'll be fighting to protect every American daughter and child. That's why we're here, because this will happen.
Well, guys, let me see if I can pull up the RSBN stream because that one just cut out. Remember, it's they're on the border, so the streams are kind of rough.
Number, they rigged the crime numbers.
All right, here we go. Having to hop back and forth from these, so bear with me.
But she's stolen the future of Lake and Riley and Rachel and our precious Jocelyn. Just taking their lives away for no reason. When I left office, I gave Kamala Harris the strongest and most secure border in American history. These people have done an incredible job. They worked with lots of others. And if you came here illegally, you got caught and you were deported or put in jail, depending on what. In some cases, we put them in jail because we didn't want, they were so violent, we didn't want to take a chance that they'd come back. But generally, they were deported and brought into countries that wouldn't accept them before me. With me, they accepted them. They wouldn't take them back, but with me, they accepted them. I said, you're going to have a lot of problems if you don't. We ended catch and release. We had remain in Mexico. The greatest policy, remain in Mexico. How good was that? Everybody remained in Mexico until they were checked out, and either they came in or not. Most of them didn't qualify. Title 42, Safe Third agreements, and 500 miles of border wall that was very, very difficult to even think about getting over, around, or under. The final gaps of the wall were about to be sealed. Then Kamala came in and dismantled every single Trump border policy and halted all wall construction. And there it sits, but much of it's been sold. This is just a small example of what it was, what it is before they lift it up. So you can see on the ground behind me the sections of wall that taxpayers paid for, a lot of money. But Kamala refused to put up, just refused. She wouldn't do it. Everybody called. I even made some calls. I said, you got to put it up. You got to put it up. But she didn't want it open. She wanted a wide open border. What Biden and Kamala have done to the families here with me and so many others, thousands and thousands of others, not only killed, also really badly hurt to a point where they'll never lead a normal life again. It's shameful and it's evil. Every year under Harris, a new all-time record of illegal immigration has been set. Every single year, our great borders are. She'll blow away Biden's reputation as being the worst president. She'll be a president that'll make him look good, just like Biden made Jimmy Carter look good. To get illegals into America as fast as possible, Harris has flown hundreds of thousands by airplane. You know, then they say, oh, well, we didn't want them to go. But then we found out a few months ago that they're flying him in over the border by airplanes to all over our country. Well, that means they do want them to come in. And flying in some very dangerous people. It's close to 1 million people, we think. Close to 1 million people were flown in over the border, and she's trying to say, well, we're in favor of borders. She just started this a short while ago. She's even launched a smartphone program that gives fast pass entry to thousands of illegal immigrants, all coming very quickly. You use the smart pass and you get immediate access into our country. Can you believe this? And then they're trying to say we believe in borders. They're flying right over our heads, right into the middle states, all over. Every border, and you've heard this, every border, you look at the different states and put another way, every state is a border state now when you think about it, because they just come right past here and they get taken to other states that never even thought of a problem like this. And those are not happy campers. According to a new DHS report, Kamala Harris also lost more than 300,000 migrant children that she allowed to be trafficked into our country. These children are gone. Many of them are dead. And nobody does anything about it. 300,000 children are missing. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if that were a Trump administration? Be the biggest story in history. Nobody even talks about it, just like they don't talk about the fact that Joe Biden got $27 million from different countries. And they don't talk about that, him and his family. Just came out from Congress. Nobody talks about it. I do have some good news, though, for the people standing behind me in particular, and maybe for some of the press that wants to hear good things. The Supreme Court just ruled that you're not allowed to have illegal aliens vote. Just came out just before I walked up. So illegal aliens are officially not allowed to vote in our country. And I give great credit to the Supreme Court. They have great courage in doing what they're doing. It's not easy, but that was one that everybody was hoping for. You know, a vast majority of people agree with that. It's a very small amount of people that don't. Who would want that? So thank you very much. And she's really provided Harris deportation immunity to the vast majority of criminal aliens living inside the United States. They've got immunity. They really have immunity. And importing MS-13 directly into our cities. MS-13 is the most vicious gang we feel. If I ask the sheriffs behind me, I think probably considered the most vicious gangs in the world. Wouldn't you say, Brandon? It's there's never seen anything like it. It's not even believable. I won't tell you about it. It's not even believable. As the DA of San Francisco, Kamala Harris was the godmother of deadly sanctuary cities. She was considered the godmother. All they're doing is protecting criminals, which set loose illegal alien criminals rather than hand them over to ICE, who are doing an incredible job. Under a program Kamala set up, an illegal alien arrested on drug charges in 2008 was set free to enjoy job training. A short time later, that same illegal alien attacked a 29-year-old beautiful young woman, Amanda Kiefer, stealing her purse and fracturing Amanda's skull. It was vicious and horrible, and Amanda's here with us, and I'd love to have Amanda come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kiefer. I don't feel like I belong on the stage with the folks here since I seem to have gotten off kind of easy with just a fractured skull. I didn't lose loved ones, but the night I was walking to dinner in Pacific Heights, it was a nice neighborhood. You wouldn't expect broad daylight for something violent to happen to you on the way to dinner. My purse was stolen, and I stepped into the street, and the car he jumped into came at me. I jumped up on the hood to avoid getting run over, and he floored it and hit the brakes. The police were great. They had caught him and his accomplice in a really short time, because I remember being on a gurney in the hallway of the hospital, and I had to ID them. They were laughing as they fractured my skull. What was really the worst part about it all, though, is when I found out that taxpayer money was paying for job training for this guy who avoided going to prison for the first felony he committed for jobs he couldn't legally hold. It was kind of a wake-up moment for me, and I moved out of San Francisco because I didn't feel safe there. And I don't think our country is going to be safe under Kamala Harris.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow.
Story after story.
First-hand experience right
Kamala
there.
has called for the abolishing of ICE, the closing of every ICE detention facility, and the releasing of some of the most vicious criminals anywhere in the world by doing so. She supports free health care for illegal immigrants and has promised to give illegals mass amnesty and citizenship, which will obliterate Social Security. Oh, Social Security is going to be obliterated by all of these millions of people that she wants to put on, and also Medicare will be obliterated. I'm going to save Social Security. I'm not going to touch it. We're going to make our country strong, but they're going to obliterate it. She also feels extremely strongly about defund the police. She wants to defund the police. And anytime somebody wants to defund the police, you're never going to get them back to being normal. The police have to be taken care of. They're the best thing we have going to protect us. They know exactly what's going on. When we do deportation, they know every person out there, and they know the middle name, and they know everything about them, and they know all of the bad ones. They know the really bad ones. That'll be a great help. We have to get the criminals out of our country immediately. Kamala is always going to have open borders. If Comrade Harris has the chance, she will allow more than 100 million illegal aliens into our country. Our country will be overrun, and essentially it won't be a country. It will be not governable. With us today are leaders of the National Border Patrol. You've known them, you've met them. I don't have to go over, but I want to just thank them for the incredible job they've done. I've worked so well with them. Paul Perez has been unbelievable. Past President Brandon Judd, unbelievable. Sheriff Mark Daniels, who's been incredible. I watched him on television today. He did a great job of explaining this crazy situation that we're in. Sheriff Chris Heiser. So I want to just say, you're here, and Paul and Brandon, Mark, and everybody, I want to thank you so much. It's incredible the job you do. Such a dangerous job. I came in, I met one of the Border Patrol who was badly wounded. I said, "Are you okay?" It was a while ago. He said, "Yes." I said, "What happened?" "Well, my leg is broken, my arm was broken, my back was broken, my neck was broken, my skull was fractured." He went through a list of things. I said, "That's unbelievable." When we win this November, we will end the Kamala Harris border nightmare once and for all. We'll get it back very strong. We will also end the inflation, a bad economy, and we will be respected very shortly all over the world again as we were by other countries. The choice is simple: Kamala's mass amnesty of criminals or President Trump's mass deportation of criminals. I think that's pretty easy. In addition to all of the other things, there are many other things that are equally as bad but not as obvious. With your vote, we will seal the border, stop the invasion, and launch the largest deportation effort in American history. We will impose tough new sentences on illegal alien criminals. These include a 10-year mandatory minimum sentence for anyone guilty of human smuggling, a guaranteed life sentence for anyone guilty of child trafficking, and a death penalty for anyone guilty of child or woman sex trafficking. We'll also impose the death penalty on major drug dealers and traffickers. In other countries, on their immigration papers, there is a statement that says, "Death for drug traffickers." Big letters, big bold letters, 10 times the size of everything else on the page. I saw it this morning. And those are the countries where they have no problem with drugs. Many of them, actually. We will also impose the death penalty for anyone killing our police, sheriffs, Border Patrol, ICE, or law enforcement officials. The death penalty with a quicker trial, not a trial that lasts for 15 years and everybody gets exhausted. We will liberate our country from the illegal alien drug dealers, robbers, murderers, gang members, and child predators. And we will make America safe again for our citizens and make it greater, stronger, better, more beautiful than ever before. And I want to thank you all, and especially our four very special people. And sheriffs and law enforcement, I want to thank you so much, because this job is so dangerous. It's not even believable. You pull over a car, they open the door, and they start shooting you. That happened in Long Island with a great young man with an incredible family. I went there. Same thing. So we have to stop it. We have to bring our country back. We have to use common sense. You don't have to be conservative or liberal or progressive, as they like to say now. They don't like the term liberal. Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We have to have strong protection in our country, or our country's going to wither away and die. We need a military. We need our great police to be loved and respected, and they will be again. Right now, if somebody does something that's a little bit on the tough side to stop something that's very bad, they end up losing their pension, their life, their car, their house. They lose their job. They lose everything. We're going to give immunity to many, many people so that they can do the law. But again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the media for being here. I hope you can report the story the way it is. It's a very sad moment for our country. We have some very bad people trying to get into office, and if we don't stop them, our country has no chance of greatness. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. We'll work with the locals, and they're going to bring them to us, and we'll get them over the border, and we'll make arrangements with the countries, and the countries will accept them back. And if they don't accept them back, we do no trade with those countries, and we charge them big tariffs. I haven't, but I'm hearing reports. I have a lot of respect for RFK Jr. You know that. I've known him a long time. Very smart, a little bit different, and that's okay. But he's a very smart guy. He's loved by a lot of people, and I'm hearing that he wants to leave. Don't forget, he was treated very unfairly. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, the Kennedy name and him in particular. I think he would have beaten Biden in a primary, and they made it impossible. They said you have to get 70% of the vote just to qualify or something. They created standards that nobody could have met. Biden couldn't have met them. And I think he would have lost Biden, and they really treated him very badly. Then he went out as an independent, and it's a tough thing to do, independent. You know, it wasn't set up that way, the country. It's really a two-party system, whether people like it or not, Republican, Democrat. And I have spoken to him in the past over the last number of months, but not recently. But there are rumors that he's going to make an endorsement. That would be a great honor for me. Great honor. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say that. But I know we're in the same state, so we're not very far away. But I can't tell you that yet. No plans have been made at this moment. Brian? What was going through my mind is that, and I almost hate to say it in front of them, I don't know how they take it. I don't know how they can take it. You understand that? I think probably most of the people standing. No. How do you take it? How do you do it? It's, it's like devastating when you see what happened. And these are incredible people. These people are incredible people. I got to know them. They're unbelievable. And they loved, like, as much as you can love someone. I spent time with all of them. And what goes through my mind is I don't know how the hell they take it, to be honest. Yes. A lot. Always has. Sure. Ready? The bipartisan, and it wasn't bipartisan, they had a couple of people on the other side. It was weak, it was ineffective, and it would have allowed, as you know, millions and millions of people to pour through, and largely unvetted. It was a horrible bill, it was a weak bill, and they don't need a bill. All Biden had to do is look to the border and say, close the border. He didn't need a bill. He knows that. They didn't want a bill. The bill was terrible. If it was good, I would have approved it. The House passed a bill before that. I'd approve that bill right now. That was a real bill. But this bill was a weak bill, and it was a shame that they got a Republican. They got somebody who's a very good person, by the way, but they got him to lead it. But it didn't make any difference. If they wanted to close the border, which they don't, they'll have 100 million people come in and totally destroy, ruin our country. If they wanted to close the border, I didn't have a bill. I said, close the border. I said, Brandon, close that border, Brandon. And what happened? He closed the border. They all did. Paul, the whole group of them. This group is incredible. They closed the border. I looked at him. I said, we don't have a bill. We don't need a bill. Close the damn border. They closed the border. They could do the same thing. No. Right now, what's happening is people are waiting to see what's going to go with the election. And wait till you see what happens after the election, one way or the other. But right now, you take a look at the numbers for the last year. They're horrendous, absolutely horrendous. And it's also election time, don't forget. They want to put on a little bit of a squeeze. All they do and all they want to do and all they have to do is say, Biden, although I'm not sure. You take a look at, nobody even knows where he is. He's on a beach someplace, but he could even do it from the beach. Close the border, and the border is closed. They will close the border immediately. That's what I did. But we had great people. We've lost a lot of those great people because they want to be respected, and they weren't respected because of this administration. And the worst person in, far worse than Biden, was Kamala. That's why I call her comrade, because she's a radical left person who really wants to have an open border. She'll never close the border. She'll never drill for oil and gas. She's not going to do it. She might do it for a couple of months. She stopped, and that's where the inflation came in. Then she went back to the Trump policy. What they don't say is that if I were there, I'd be now 4 times higher than I was at that moment. But the gasoline prices are still very high right now. But they would have been double if they didn't go back to the Trump policy of drilling. But we would have been close to 4 times higher. We would have been energy dominant. We were energy independent. They would have been energy dominant. But if I want the border closed, if I'm the president, I don't need a bill. I just have to say close the border, and they close the border.
To the White House, are you confident that you can reach a consensus with Democrats and how to fix the border?
Well, I think right now you look at it, and I'm one that believes that we want to unify our country. But when you have an issue like this where some people, and I don't happen to believe it's the Democrats. I think it's Democrat leaders that want the open borders. I think it's Democrat leaders that say, we don't want voter ID. We talk about elections. I always start, we start with voter ID. We don't want voter ID. He said, no, everything has ID, identification. They said, we don't want any identification. We don't want it. Now, there's only one reason, so we can't even negotiate after that because they don't want voter ID. So I say to them, why don't you want? Well, we just don't want it. We think it's discriminatory. They have all sorts of excuses. They don't want it because they want to be able to cheat. And we want voter ID. And we want same-day voting. And we want paper ballots. And we want proof of citizenship. Very simple. France did it. France went to 38 million votes, and they did it because they had mail-in ballots, and they were very unsafe, very bad. They had tremendous problems, and they went 2 years ago with an election, and it worked out incredibly. 10 o'clock in the evening, they had 37 million votes. They were all counted, and there were no problems. That's where our country should go. But the Democrats don't want to go there because it doesn't allow them to cheat. Okay, how about one more?
According to the Daily Mail, today there was a manhunt going on in this county. Somebody made death threats to you. Did you hear about that before coming? No. And what are your thoughts coming down here? Some people told me it's dangerous for you to be here.
I've heard it's dangerous, but I also have a job to do. I heard it's very dangerous. I haven't heard about that. They probably want to keep it from me. Thank you for telling me. Let's get out of here right now. No, thank you very much for saying. But no, and I have great respect for Secret Service, the job they do, including a month and a half ago when they were jumping on top of me with bullets flying right at them. So mistakes were made, and they're going to learn from the mistakes. But I have great respect. But no, I haven't heard that, but I'm not that surprised. And the reason is because I want to do things that are very bad for the bad guys. So I have heard it's very unsafe to make this trip. There were some people that really didn't want me to make it. Yeah, please.
Families and children under your matter.
Yeah, we'll work on that. They're missing so many children right now under this administration, over 300,000. Many of them are dead. You know that. Many of them are dead. Many of the hostages in Israel are dead. This is why Hamas isn't talking. Hamas doesn't want to negotiate very much because I think they probably don't have very many alive right now. And so they don't want to really get into too much of a negotiation because I think many of those hostages, unfortunately, are dead. But the 300,000 children that are missing, many of them are dead. And many of them are in sex rings and all sorts of things going on. It's a terrible thing. They have done such a bad job in this government in terms of everything, foreign relations, border, crime, jobs. And today you found out that the job numbers are fake on top of everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes.
But when it comes to something like mass deportation, how does it work with blue states and blue cities that might not be as supportive as some of the folks here?
Let me tell you, they're much more supportive than you think. I've watched New York, Eric Adams. I've watched the body language, a lot of people that are in charge of that. They want to straighten it out. They can't live like this. New York has hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants in their midst. Many of them are very, very hardened criminals. And I've watched the mayors, I've watched governors talking, and it's almost like they're talking because they're demanded from Washington now. They want it out much more than people would understand. They want them out. They don't want to see their cities overrun. New York is overrun, Chicago's overrun. They're all, and you would be surprised. And the people, including Democrats want to have a secure border. Democrats want to have a secure vote. It's the leadership that doesn't. So I think that'll be a very easy situation to solve. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, that was a heavy one. Man, that was crazy. That last lady, it's one thing hearing like secondhand, from the moms of these people, but that last lady hearing like firsthand her experience, that was wild to hear. And they were just laughing. These illegal immigrants were laughing as they were doing it. She was very lucky to get away. Then she said, what was going on here? Like these people, these illegal immigrants, they had some sort of job program that they were in. They were arrested on felonies, and then they're just let back out.
President Trump wrapping up
onto the street. That was some pretty rough stuff, man. I was sitting there like mind blown. I mean, I read about this stuff a lot. I see it on Twitter. I see articles all the time on this stuff, but just hearing it directly from the source, it's a whole different thing. So Donald Trump, I mean, really exuding a lot of bravery there. It sounds like he wasn't aware of that man that made the threats against him. There was a manhunt earlier. I don't know if all you guys were watching, but there was a helicopter flying around doing the manhunt. And this guy was from, like, I guess, Wisconsin? That was weird. And so I don't know why he's all the way down there in Arizona. But pretty sobering press conference that was held by Donald Trump. And we'll see what the media tries to say, because we know the media is not fair to Donald Trump. They don't cover this stuff. They're barely covering that job numbers thing where the Biden administration was caught lying about job numbers. And this is just one. If they caught this one, imagine the millions of jobs they've lied about already. Imagine the other things that they've lied about. Talking about those crime statistics where they don't want these outlier cities like Chicago and New York who have high crime rates to poison the data. So they don't even pull data from those cities. It's absolutely incredible. And then you have the Biden administration propping up these job numbers, these crime numbers, these statistics on their Twitter. And you have news articles, CNN, MSNBC, you name it, the news company, other than maybe Fox, just showing these numbers as if the economy is booming. The jobs are booming. And it's just like, no, it's a lie. I can go to the grocery store and I can see it in front of my very own eyes. I know people who they order they order groceries on the Walmart app, and they order like the same thing, every week or whatever. And they can just press a button. It just populates all of the items. And those items have gone up so much that you can compare your bill today to bills from, a year ago. And it's wild. So pretty incredible stuff, guys. Yeah, it's very important that we get out there and vote. That's the most important thing come November, that we vote. Because the Democrats are pulling out all of the stops. I was sitting here, I was kind of scrolling through Twitter. Kamala Harris's campaign, as one of these victims was speaking, they tweet out about the fact that they were very excited. It's very exciting. Pink, the performer, the musician, Pink is going to be performing at the DNC. Oh, yay. While one of these victims is speaking. It's sick stuff, guys. It's all a mirage that they're putting forth. They're trying to lie to everybody. They have the whole media apparatus lying to the country about what's actually going on. And Trump is over here at the source, imploring people, hey, we got to get serious. I know the Democrats have the flashing lights. I know they have all these celebrities, these rappers that go to Kamala Harris's rallies. I know at the DNC, it was one celebrity after another. But look, this is reality, and we need to do something about it because we can't go on like this. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to hop off of here. I'm going to go grab some food. I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten today. It's what? It's 3:30. I haven't eaten. Man. But thank you guys for watching today. Make sure you share it with somebody because this is a very important press conference by Donald Trump. I believe it's one of the most important because this is just those three women that spoke was just wild. But tomorrow I will be streaming RFK's address to the nation. So this is when he is expected to endorse Donald Trump. So that's going to be an interesting stream. So Donald Trump he's holding a rally in Phoenix. So RFK is holding his address in Phoenix, and Donald Trump is holding a rally in a town that's like pretty much in the suburbs of Phoenix. So it's kind of the same thing. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to be at the same rally. Maybe RFK is announcing it there. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot of speculation. So I'll be live streaming that tomorrow. I believe it's at 2 o'clock. I forgot to check whether it's Eastern time, Central time, Mountain time, whatever that is. I'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow morning on my live stream, 9 a.m. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification so you can catch that. I go live every morning, 6 days a week, 6 mornings a week, Mondays through Saturdays, right here on Unwoke Thoughts. Make sure you subscribe to catch that. Hit the notifications. If you could, please, before we get off the stream, if you could leave a like on the video, I'd really appreciate it. And if you'd like to support the show, I have my links down below. I have my Cash App link. And then if you would like to become a member, that would really help out a lot as well. But ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. on the next one. God bless.